Last night I was able to see the new action thriller Leo, so let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about Leo? As kind of a point of reference, last year my wife and I checked out RRR, and both of us absolutely loved the film. And then we were lucky enough earlier this year to be at an awards show where actually Ram was in attendance. And there's a little video of my wife as he walked by and she realized that he was behind her. She kind of freaked out. And so we went into this year wanting to check out more Indian films. And so we've been able to check out Pathaan, and then this one we saw last night. And last month I was able to see Jawan. And that was kind of our journey into this. But I've just been trying to explore more. And the big thing was going to Jawan last month, opening night with a packed theater. That was just so much fun. There's so much energy in the room. And I thought, I gotta take my wife to the next one of these. Took my wife last night. And the movie is probably more violent than my wife likes, with just some blood, bone snapped. When it was over, she said, "This is the most fun I've had at the movies since Endgame." 4.5 years ago now. And so it's just an absolutely great experience. She literally said, "I feel like I enjoyed that movie way more than I should have, given how violent it was." That sounds about right. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves into a little bit of the review. So the movie is actually loosely inspired or based on A History of Violence, a David Cronenberg film from about 20 years ago starring Viggo Mortensen that's actually based off of a DC graphic novel. So in a sense, this movie's sort of a new DC Comics film that came out this weekend, though it's definitely not DC in the sense that we normally think of that. And yeah, as the point of reference, I very much like that type of story, so I was very curious to check out this movie. So let's get started talking about the good. And I'll just say, much like my wife, I had an absolute blast with this film. And a big part of that is, as I just said, I really do enjoy this type of story. I've seen 4 Indian films this year, as previously mentioned, Pathaan, Jawan, and then I saw a movie called Kill at Fantastic Fest last month, and I haven't been able to find much about that one on the internet. And then last night I saw Leo, and I think Leo was easily my favorite of these films. And that boils down to a few very specific things. The first one is that I just like this type of story that's kind of this compact action thriller where there's this person with a mysterious past, perhaps a history of violence, as the source material would imply, where the people that know him realize that they might not really know this person. And so it's kind of like this tight action story about family discovering the past. And that, most of the action sequences are at a home, a shopping center, a diner, a single warehouse. You have one kind of more extravagant action sequence where cars are flipping over and stuff like that, but most of them are a little bit tighter than some of these grand action sequences in the other films that I saw. So, and I like that. Other thing about the action is a lot more visceral. It has its moment of the heightened reality and people flying backwards, but it's not nearly as much about doing wild flips and jumping out of cars while they're flying in the air. It's not as much of the over the top and more of this guy that just is able to, when he snaps, gets super skilled and super violent very quickly. And you just have these bones snapping, all that fun stuff that I love. And in a way, even just the look of this film, I thought was a little bit more, I don't know, kind of more grounded-ish, just with the color palette, not documentary style, but more kind of camera in the room and less flashy cinematic for a lot of these action sequences. You felt like someone in the space observing what was happening. Just gave it a certain dynamic to it that I really enjoyed. And then it also found ways to also continue to pay off little elements. There was one sequence without wanting to say too much if you haven't seen the film, towards the end at the lead guy's house that I loved. It was the sort of thing that as it starts, you realize, oh, they're about to pay off everything. Everything. There's all these little things that happened. Some of it in the first 10 minutes of the film, some of it like in the middle of the film. And we've had, some cases, 90 minutes pass since certain things were introduced. And it cuts to this scene and you're like, it's about to go down, and I bet I know exactly what's going to happen, but the good version of that. The version where it's not like a twist was predictable, but you're like, you're on the right wavelength with the storytelling. It's like, yes, this is going to happen. And it was all done so much exactly how I hoped it would play out. It was so satisfying. I love those types of sequences. Like I said, when you're late in the film, the sequence at the main guy's house, all the pieces all the way up to the end with the phone call and how the phone call plays out and everything. Just exactly what I hoped, how it would play out, everything like that. But even right from the beginning, they find a way to establish that the action here is just going to be a little bit more based in reality. It starts off with this sequence where like a hyena is running through this community and like you're seeing people get their limbs eaten off. And then the hyena runs into the playground at a school. And so you're like, right from the beginning, like, oh, woo, this is not good. And then our hero shows up and they have him battling this hyena, but they don't have him battling the hyena by, anything too overly flashy, but all of it's still exciting. Just like right out of the gate, you're like, oh, that was like, that guy just battled a hyena. Wow, this is wild. And so all the little details, the way it played out, the way the action was handled, really appreciate it. Also, other thing in here, as I mentioned before, it's about his family, his relationship to the community. And they keep finding ways to be able to use his family to keep you on the edge of your seat, as well as draw out some of these emotions of kind of what's going on in all of this, where they... he'll be off somewhere. You're not really worried he's going to get hurt. This guy can handle himself. But anytime he's not immediately with his family, you're like, oh, crap. They're in trouble. Whoa, uh-oh. How's he going to save? What's going to happen here? And they keep having these moments. And one of the reasons this works is because it starts off in the intro sequence of the movie, they imply something horrible happens to a child. And so you have a movie that early on makes it clear, like, we'll go there. We'll do some really dark stuff. And then all throughout the film, they keep putting children in peril. And so you're always on the edge of your seat about what's going to happen and who's going to have something happen to them. And just like that dug that. And that's where like you have a story that's a little bit more contained. It's tighter. You can have those details that it's easier to like feel the danger because you've shown me you will hurt an innocent child. And then you just keep finding ways to put children and innocent people in jeopardy. And all of a sudden I know you might do something I really don't want you to do. And then the other side to that is as you kind of learn about his history and the backstory of these characters and these different factions and everything kind of going on in the story and everyone, you have these heartbreaking moments that they keep finding ways to make you like, I want these bad guys to get it good. As I mentioned, like at the beginning of the movie, they show you this character that's very memorable for his eyes and the way he repeats things, pin number, chocolate coffee. Like he's so creepy and dangerous and evil. Like you don't like this guy. And the movie keeps setting these characters up, showing why they're awful. So you want them to get what's coming to them. And then the movie properly delivers on all of that. So I had a blast with this film. There were a few things that kind of stuck out to me. So let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. The big, gigantic one here is the song choices. That it's like in such a weird category. But there's like specifically two different songs that are so on the nose, devoid of subtlety about our lead character being afraid. And it's just the way that it says it. You're like, what? They're going that direct. And it's like, there's something about it that's like so captivating, a song that is so devoid of anything subtle. It is just stating it in the most blunt, crass level. And then you get to the middle of the film, you have some big reveals, and our big theme song for Leo kicks in. And once again, it is just so intensely stating what it wants you to know about our lead character, like name dropping him and stating it. Badass, Mr. Das is a badass. That my wife and I like looked at each other like, is this really happening? But with big grins on our face. Like this is lyrically awful, but also so weirdly, awfully awesome too. Awfully addictive. Like every time it drops, we're like huge grins on our face. This is so fun. And I don't know, it's probably a little bit of a cultural divide, but like we weren't sure as we were watching it, like, did the creators mean this tongue in cheek? Did the audience take it as tongue in cheek? Is this meant and does it play as just they're going hard? Like, this is awesome with what they're doing. Because like you do that same thing in Hollywood and have a song that's just stating Vin Diesel, Dominic Toretto from Fast and the Furious is, he's awesome. Dominic's awesome. It would not get a good result. You do that in this movie and it's like, oh, it's about to go down. What is this? And so I put it in that mixed category because like it was so effective and it worked. It like made the movie so much more enjoyable. But at the same time, we're like, really? Are they really doing this? And perhaps some of that is the appeal of Indian cinemas. There's a certain earnestness and just honesty, directness, sincerity to emotions and the way that characters are portrayed. It's just very much right there, even in some of these song choices, that is very refreshing. That you'd have a movie that would just be like, yeah, Leo Das is a badass. Like, boom, it just goes for it, states it, because that's what it wants you to know about this character, and that's what we're going to deliver when it comes to this character. From there, let's move on to the bad. And there are just a couple things here, almost all of them kind of dealing with family dynamics and character motivations. First one, our main guy's wife is written to be pretty awful. I don't know exactly where they're going with this, but like from the beginning of the movie, he's like saves children from a wild hyena. And I think the first time that the wife is introduced, it's him like, hey, better stay in the car. I don't want your mother nagging me. So she's framed up as the nagging wife. He saves children, and she's like, how could you do this? You messed up the shirt I gave you. What? I don't know if that was what I'm missing here, but he saved children from a wild hyena that was murdering people. Why are we pausing to talk about the shirt? And they kind of like keep using her that way of, he clearly is doing something heroic and saving the day. And then she's like, dude, why did you do that? All of these things that as soon as he does them, my audience was like whistling, shouting, like, woo-hoo! All of this going nuts as soon as he does it. The next scene is his wife like, what do you do? Why did you do that? And they never really made her endearing, gave her a positive quality. She was just kind of perpetually the nagging, nervous wife. And I think that was odd. And then the flip side to it, with our main villain, as we kind of move into the back half of the film, as we were driving home, my wife was like, what was the plan there? I don't understand. Like, where were they going with this? I don't understand what they thought they were going to get out of this. So there's a little bit of that where we're kind of like scratching our head like, what was the plan? Did it tie back to the rituals? But it just felt like there was something that should have been more clear about the goal and objective in the pursuit in the back half, because it just felt like, let's put an army of people for our hero to wipe out rather than the way that it's set up, it's not our guys hunting them down. It's they're coming after him. And the way they do it didn't know exactly what he was trying to do. What was he trying to accomplish in this context of what you know about him and everything like that? And it plays out in a fashion where you're like, what? Huh? Anyway, repeating myself a little bit. All of that said, I really enjoyed this film. The type of story, the way that it did the action, much more kind of my type of story. And I like that visual, graphic violence. I like these types of characters with the mysterious past and you don't know what is and isn't true and what's going on and where did these skills come from. That's my type of film. And this movie delivers all of that. And like I said, my wife thought it was the most fun she's had at the theater since Endgame. I mentioned before, I've seen 4 Indian films this year. As of right now, this is, I think, pretty safely my favorite of the bunch. The one that was like, yeah, that's my jam right there. It has the energy, the vibe, everything that I go to. I don't feel like I've seen enough Indian films to be able to really give them proper ratings. I think ratings kind of come from a comparative to be able to like factor things out. And even having now seen Kill and then J1, Pathan, it helps me to be like, okay, I feel like these are here and this is here, but I don't feel like I can give scores, but say like, I really enjoyed this film. And I would imagine whenever I do my favorite action movies of the year, that this will make an appearance with Extraction, with John Wick Chapter 4, things like that. So let me know, what did you guys think about it down below? Also, if you know anything about this movie Kill that I saw at Fantastic Fest, if you can let me know more about it. It's a film I can't learn much about. Like, I've seen the movie. It's like Die Hard on a Train, but I don't know which studio it came out of or haven't been able to learn much about it. I don't even know if it's actually been released in India. So if some of you have seen it, can interact, I would appreciate that. And if you want to know my thoughts on it, you can check it out in my ranking of the fantastic films. I guess it's called Kill. It's an Indian film. And then I've also checked out Jawan and Pathan, and I've got you can hear my thoughts on those down below. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.